You know that feeling, right? A really crucial soccer match. It's hanging in the balance, and every single pass, every tackle, it just feels like it could decide absolutely everything. That kind of tension, it grips you from the first whistle right to the last. The air just crackles.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Well, that's exactly where we're dropping you today. We're taking a real deep dive into the high-stakes 2025 FIFA Club World Cup Group D finale, a proper do-or-die showdown, this one, between the European powerhouse Chelsea and the formidable African champions, Esperance Tunis.
Yeah.
So our mission, pretty simple, really. We're going to unpack every crucial moment, every tactical call, all those little surprising nuggets of info from the sources you've shared with us. We want to give you the ultimate shortcut to being, well, properly informed about this absolute pivotal match.
Absolutely. And, this was far more than just like another game on the calendar. It really was. It was a clash with pretty significant implications for both clubs. It reflects those broader narratives, doesn't it? Yeah. Strategy, player performance under intense pressure, even the evolving dynamics of global club soccer.
Right.
So we'll explore not just what happened, on the field there in Philadelphia, but really why it mattered so much and what it tells us about this ever-expanding landscape of club soccer on the world stage.
Okay, let's get into it then. First things first, let's just lay out the basic facts of this pretty intense encounter. We're talking about a match played on June 25th, 2025, kicked off at 9.00000 a.m. UTC plus 8, which that's 1.0000 a.m. UTC plus 0 for anyone listening elsewhere.
Early start for some.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The venue. None other than Lincoln Financial Field, right there in Philadelphia, USA.
Yeah, and that choice, Philadelphia, as a host city for such a critical Group D game in the Club World Cup.
No, it's quite telling, isn't it?
It is. It really reflects FIFA's strategic ambition for this new expanded tournament format. They're aiming to truly globalize elite club soccer,
Makes sense.
So bringing a match of this magnitude, it was effectively a knockout game to a burgeoning soccer market like the U.S.
Right.
It's a very deliberate move. They want to tap into those growing fan bases, increase commercial revenue, and really solidify the sport's global footprint, beyond just the traditional strongholds in Europe and South America.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really transforms the Club World Cup from maybe what was seen as a bit of a niche event into a proper worldwide spectacle, connects all these diverse fan communities.
A clear statement, yeah.
Okay.
Global reach. So this was the third and final group stage round for Group D. Officiated by the Argentine referee Falcon Perez. And the final score, just so everyone's clear, was Esperance Tunis 0, Chelsea FC 3.
And those 3 goals, crucial as they were, they really told the story of the match. They came from 3 different players, and at really significant moments, too. You had Tosin Adarabioyo scoring right on the cusp of halftime.
Right.
Then Delap added another in the second half. And finally, Tyrique George delivered that clincher right in stoppage time. Each goal really shifted the tactical landscape and the psychological state of both teams.
And talk about high stakes. Wow, this wasn't just, another group game going through the motions.
Not at all.
Both teams came into this match with their tournament futures just hanging precariously in the balance. For Chelsea, well, the equation looked relatively straightforward on paper. A draw was all they needed to secure passage to the round of 16.
Sounds simple.
Yeah, sounds simple, but, playing for a draw, that can be incredibly nerve-wracking. That temptation to just sit back, defend. It can, paradoxically, make a team more vulnerable, can't it?
It really can. And for Esperance Tunis, well, the stakes were even higher. Almost existentially so, you could say.
Yeah.
They had to win. Simple as that. Win to advance as group runner-up.
No wiggle room.
Absolutely no margin for error, no playing it safe. Like you said, this wasn't just a regular group stage game. It was effectively a knockout match before the knockout stage even started. A true winner-take-all situation.
Right.
So for Chelsea, the challenge was, managing those nerves, avoiding any complacency against the side they were, let's be honest, expected to beat, and just securing what they needed without expending unnecessary energy or risking key injuries.
Yeah.
But for Tunis, it was absolutely all or nothing. A true test of their resilience, their tactical discipline, their attacking prowess, all under immense, really unforgiving pressure. Every single pass, every tackle, it just carried the weight of their entire tournament hopes.
And when the final whistle blew, the Group D standings, well, they look pretty definitive. Flamengo, they topped the group. Ending performance 7 points. Cemented their place as group winners. Chelsea, with that convincing 3-0 win, they secured second place with 6 points, punched their ticket to the knockout stage. Esperance de Tunis, despite, a valiant effort, they ended up in third place with 3 points, which meant elimination for them.
Yeah, tough outcome for them.
And at the bottom of the group with just 1 point was LAFC. They kind of struggled to make a big impact in what was, admittedly, a tough group.
Yeah, it was. And that outcome, it set up some absolute fascinating round of 16 clashes. Really highlights the elite level of this expanded tournament, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So Chelsea, as Group D runners-up, they now face Benfica, the winners of Group C. That match is set for June 28th in Charlotte, North Carolina. Promises to be a stern test.
Definitely. Benfica are no pushovers.
Exactly. And meanwhile, Flamengo, as the Group D winners, they drew another European giant, Bayern Munich, who are the Group C runners-up. So some huge games coming up.
Wow. So Chelsea punches their ticket, gets through, but the journey doesn't get any easier, does it? Straight into a clash with Benfica, a historically really formidable opponent in European soccer. What does that tell us about the road ahead for them?
Well, it just reinforces the relentless nature of this tournament, I think. Even after a crucial win like that, securing qualification, the challenge just intensify immediately.
Right away.
For Chelsea, it's a quick turnaround, just 3 days, that's nothing.
Yeah.
And a test against a formidable European side, known for their, attacking flair and tactical cohesion. It really highlights the demanding nature of this Club World Cup. Deep squad management, quick tactical adjustments, they're absolutely paramount. And especially for Chelsea, remember, with key players like Nicholas Jackson still unavailable because of that red card suspension carried over from the Flamengo match.
Yeah, that's right.
It really underscores the importance of every single player on that roster. It's a testament to the quality of the tournament that every step forward just means facing another top-tier club. The margin for error, it just shrinks dramatically in the knockout rounds.
Okay, let's dive into the match itself then. The first half, Chelsea's manager, Enzo Fernandez, he made some, pretty significant decisions with his lineup.
He did.
Opted for extensive squad rotation, resting key players you'd normally expect to start, like star midfielder Cole Palmer and the regular goalkeeper Robert Sanchez.
Big names to leave out.
Yeah. And because Nicholas Jackson was suspended, after that red card against Flamengo, young Liam Delap got the starting nod as the lone striker. I mean, that's a bold move for such a high-stakes do-or-die match, wouldn't you say? Takes real conviction in your squad depth.
Oh, it was a calculated gamble. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, one that ultimately paid off handsomely for him. Maresca's decision to rotate, it spoke volumes about his confidence and the depth of his squad, sure. But it also reflects the intense and condensed calendar of modern elite soccer. You just can't play key players every single match in a format like this.
Too much risk.
Exactly. Significant risk of fatigue, burnout, injury, especially with the demanding Premier League season stretching ahead. So this rotation, it allowed him to preserve his mainstays, keep them fresh for the battles to come, while simultaneously testing the mettle of his second-string players in a proper do-or-die situation. The fact that it worked, that they secured their passage to the next round, it absolutely validates his intelligent approach to squad management.
So the early dynamics of that first half, Chelsea controlled possession pretty comfortably, didn't they? Moved the ball around fluidly, patiently trying to create threats. They weren't rushing things. Seemed to understand Tunis's defensive setup.
Right.
But they did initially struggle a bit to break down that well-drilled Tunis defense. Tunis, for their part, they adopted a relatively conservative 4-4-1-1 approach, clearly looking to, hit Chelsea on the counterattack, waiting for their moments, showing discipline, patience.
And that defensive solidity, that's a real hallmark of Esperance Tunis. You mentioned their pre-tournament form earlier.
It was incredible form, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. 9 wins and a draw in their previous 10 official matches across all competitions, including a remarkable 8 clean sheets.
Wow.
They are a team built on defensive discipline, a compact shape, really good tactical organization. Their 4-4-1-1 formation was designed specifically to create 2 incredibly compact lines of 4 players, basically trying to suffocate Chelsea's attacking midfielders, deny them space in those central areas.
Right, clog up the middle.
Exactly. This deep block made it incredible for Chelsea. It eased that pressure significantly, gave them a tangible reward for their dominance in possession. It meant they could head into the locker room with the lead, which, let's remember, was the minimum they needed to secure qualification. Allowed them to recalibrate.
And for Tunis,
Well, for Tunis, it was a significant, really heartbreaking blow, just negating all their disciplined defensive efforts right when they were about to head into the break level. And Adarabioyo's goal, it wasn't just any header, it was powerful, perfectly placed, showcased his exceptional aerial ability, and reinforced Chelsea's threat from set pieces, which, as we know, is so often a deciding factor in tight matches like this.
And speaking of Tunis, they had a pretty significant setback even before the match kicked off, didn't they? Their key player, Yusuf Belaili, was
Yeah,
suspended.
that was huge.
Accumulated 2 yellow cards in the previous match against LAFC. And one of those cards, interestingly, was for simulation basically diving.
Yeah, Belaili's absence was a massive blow for Esperance. He's not just another player for them. He's a genuine creative spark, a technical wizard, really, capable of moments of individual brilliance, the kind of player who can unlock the tightest defenses with a piece of skill, a clever pass, or, a shot from distance.
The kind of player you need in a game like this.
Exactly. In a do-or-die match where you have to score, missing that kind of attacking ingenuity and flair is incredibly detrimental. It's a major what-if moment for Tunis, isn't it? Leaves you wondering how the game might have unfolded with him on the field, especially when they needed to break down Chelsea's disciplined shape in the second half. And that yellow card for simulation, the subsequent suspension. It also raises an important point about player discipline and just the fine margins in elite soccer. A single perceived act of deception, however minor it might seem, can have colossal consequences for an entire team's tournament hopes.
So Chelsea, despite the rotation, dominating possession, but struggling to break through until that very last moment of the half. That Adarabioyo header really felt like a massive sigh of relief for them. It sounds like a perfect illustration of patience meeting opportunity, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. It allowed them to go into the break with the lead, which put them firmly in the driver's seat. It shifted the dynamic completely from that tense, potentially nervy, goalless draw to a lead that put them in control of their own destiny.
Right.
It also demonstrated Chelsea's clinical edge, their ability to capitalize on set-piece situations, which, as we see time and again, can be the key to unlocking stubborn defenses. That goal wasn't just a number on the scoreboard. It was a real psychological turning point that definitely set the stage for the second half.
Okay, moving into that second half. Chelsea continued to maintain stability, didn't they? Showed real tactical discipline. They weren't rushing for more goals, seeming to understand that a 1-0 lead was all they truly needed to secure qualification.
Smart game management.
Yeah, instead they focused on controlling the pace, managing the tempo, denying Tunis any clear-cut opportunities. Tunis, on the other hand, well, they were now forced to push forward more aggressively, weren't they? Knowing they had to score at least once to have any chance of advancing. And that, presumably, created more space for Chelsea to exploit.
And that's exactly where the second goal becomes so decisive. It essentially sealed Chelsea's victory.
Yeah.
Once Liam Delap scored that one, the dynamic of the match fundamentally shifted. Chelsea could suddenly play with even more comfort, more freedom, knowing their qualification was, well, virtually secured. This allowed them to really exploit the increasingly desperate spaces that Tunis, who now had to commit more players forward, inevitably left behind in their pursuit of an equalizer.
Turn the screw.
Yeah. And for Tunis, it transformed what was already an uphill battle into an almost insurmountable task. That was the moment, really, when their hopes for progression were effectively shattered.
And then, as the clock wound down into stoppage time, young Tyrique George comes off the bench. As that final flourish, what a moment for him. Scoring from the edge of the box to cement the 3-0 scoreline. A truly memorable debut on such a massive stage, surely.
Oh, absolutely. George's goal was more than just, adding gloss to the scoreline. It was a real testament to the quality and the depth of Chelsea's squad.
Yeah.
Coming on as a substitute and making such an immediate, decisive impact, especially with a beautifully struck long-range shot from the edge of the box. It just shows his raw talent, his readiness for the big stage. For a young player getting on the score sheet in a Club World Cup match, that's a huge confidence booster, a really memorable highlight.
Definitely.
And it certainly reinforces Maresca's successful rotation strategy, doesn't it? Demonstrates that the players coming off the bench are fully capable of contributing to significant outcomes. And, that Chelsea's youth academy continues to produce top-tier talent. It speaks volumes about the club's overall talent pool available to the manager.
All right. Moving beyond just the goals now, let's talk about the tactical masterclass, perhaps, from Maresca. Chelsea's expected 4-2-3-1 formation, Delap as the lone striker, supported by Pedro Neto, Palmer, Enzo Fernandez. That was the foundation. But the real story here, as we've touched on, is Maresca's strategy of extensive rotation. He clearly used this match not just to win, but to rigorously test his squad's depth in a high-pressure environment.
Yeah, Maresca's decision to rotate was, as we said, a calculated risk.
Yeah.
And it paid off handsomely, really validating his tactical acumen. It wasn't just about preserving energy for future matches in a demanding tournament, though that was part of it.
Right.
It was a profound statement about the confidence he has in his entire squad, including players who might typically be considered, second string.
Yeah.
This kind of squad management is absolutely crucial in modern soccer. The fixture list is just relentless. Player welfare is paramount.
You have to do it.
You really do. And for a coach to secure passage to the round of 16 with a heavily rotated lineup, especially when you hear reports of other well-known clubs from major leagues maybe struggling or even facing early exits in the group stage, well, that's a significant achievement.
It really is.
It provides a kind of blueprint for intelligent squad management for long-term success, prioritizing the health and readiness of the entire roster over just individual game heroics. He didn't just win. He proved his philosophy worked.
So yeah, he didn't just get the win, he validated his entire strategy, proved that Chelsea isn't just about the first 11. That's a significant achievement for a coach, especially, as you say, with other big names reportedly stumbling. Tells you something about his managerial skill and the trust he places in every single player on his roster.
Precisely. And that approach, it builds confidence not just within the customary starting Eckert drive, but right across the entire roster. Every player feels valued, feels like they can be called upon in crucial moments, that their contribution is meaningful. This kind of depth and mutual trust are absolutely vital for navigating the demanding schedule of a global tournament like the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
It highlights a mature, really forward-thinking approach to team building and competition, recognizing that success in a modern multi-competition season relies on the collective strength of the full squad, not just the star names on the team sheet.
Okay, on the other side then, Tunis set up in that 4-4-1-1 formation, Rodrigo Rodriguez as the striker. Clearly trying to be solid defensively. We heard they often use a 4-2-3-1 with Onuchi Ogbalu and Khalil Gunichi in defensive midfield. How did their formation work against Chelsea's attack, particularly with that critical absence of Bilali? Well, Tunis's 4-4-1-1 formation, it reflected their clear intent, as you say, to be defensively sound, compact, really difficult to break down. They aimed to absorb Chelsea's pressure, especially in those central areas, by creating those two disciplined banks of four.
Yeah, made it tough.
It made it very hard for Chelsea to play through the lines, force them wide, which was probably their primary objective initially. However, the inherent challenge of such a formation, particularly against a team of Chelsea's quality, was always going to be generating enough offense. And that was made even harder without a critical creative player like Bilali. Their deep defensive block was effective for a good period, limiting Chelsea to relatively few clear-cut chances in the first half. But it also limited their ability to transition quickly and effectively into attack themselves. Once they conceded that first goal, and especially once the second one went in, their defensive shell inevitably had to break. And that just exposed them to Chelsea's clinical finishing in the spaces that opened up.
Let's spotlight some key player performances then. We've talked about the goal scorers, Adarabioyo, Delap, George, and their distinctive skills. Adarabioyo's header, Delap's positioning, George's strike. But what about Bachir Ben Said, Tunis's goalkeeper? He had a truly heroic performance in their previous game against LAFC, didn't he? Saving a stoppage time penalty to preserve a crucial draw.
He did.
But he couldn't stop Chelsea's attack in this match.
Yeah, Ben Said's performance against LAFC, stopping that penalty right at the death, that was genuinely heroic. Kept their qualification hopes alive right up until this final match, showed incredible reflexes, great composure under immense pressure.
Yeah.
But it just seems Chelsea's attack was too much to handle in this decisive game. And that tells us less about any failing on Ben Said's part, I think, and more about the sheer quality and the relentless nature of the opposition they faced. Even a top goalkeeper can be overwhelmed when faced with a structured attack. Clinical finishing coming from multiple avenues, like Chelsea demonstrated. 3 distinct goals, different players, different situations, is really a testament to Chelsea's offensive power and the sustained pressure they were able to exert throughout the match. It's just tough to be a hero 2 games in a row when the opposition steps up their game like that.
Okay, let's talk numbers now, both the on-field stats and maybe some historical context. Chelsea clearly dominated the match stats, didn't they? Possession shots, pass accuracy, all looked pretty one-sided. But what's really interesting is that pre-match form for Tunis we mentioned. That incredible record, 9 wins, 1 draw in their 10 official matches before the Club World Cup, 8 clean sheets. Chelsea really did break that streak, didn't they?
They certainly did. And what's fascinating here is that stark contrast. Esperance Tunis came into this tournament on an absolutely incredible run of form, particularly defensively, showcasing their dominance within their continental competitions. But Chelsea broke that streak, and not just by scoring once, but 3 times. That's a significant achievement against such a defensively robust side.
Yeah, definitely.
It really underscores Chelsea's offensive firepower, even with that rotated squad. And the historical aspect here is also crucial. This wasn't just another game. It was a proper landmark encounter.
First time meeting.
Yeah, the first ever competitive meeting between these two clubs. It was also Chelsea's first competitive match against an African team. And, conversely, Tunis's first against a European team.
Wow.
So it's bridging continents in a competitive setting for the very first time for both clubs. Adds another layer of significance to the result beyond just the scoreline. And let's not forget, Tunis is the most successful Tunisian club in the African Champions League 4 titles. So they carry significant continental pedigree, a proud history.
And then you look at the financial disparity. It's quite eye-opening, really. Chelsea's player market value, reportedly over $1 billion. Massive social media following, 42.6 million on Instagram.
It's huge numbers.
Compare that to Tunis. Player market value around 20 million. Instagram followers around 352,000. I mean, when you look at those numbers, the financial gap, the fan base gap, it's just enormous. Does that kind of disparity always translate directly to on-field results? Or are there exceptions? What does this match tell us about that?
Well, that's a powerful question, isn't it? And maybe the real deep dive insight here is the growing tactical sophistication we see even among clubs with significantly fewer resources. While yes, a $1 billion market value for Chelsea, give a very clear picture of their access to top-tier talent, incredible depth overall infrastructure. Esperance Tunis's disciplined 4-4-1-1 formation wasn't just about spirit or passion.
No, it was organized.
Exactly. It showcased how meticulous preparation, collective organization, a clear tactical game plan can create, at least temporarily, a really effective defensive wall. It forced a squad of Chelsea's caliber to struggle for a full 45 minutes to break the deadlock. And this highlights a fascinating trend in global soccer. While money certainly buys talent and vastly increases squad depth, it doesn't always buy immediate tactical solutions, especially when facing teams that have mastered defensive cohesion and know how to pose a counterattacking threat. So for Tunis, performing against such a global giant, pushing them for a significant portion of the game, regardless of the final 3-0 scoreline, that's a testament to their domestic strength, their tactical discipline, and their ambition to compete on the world stage.
Okay, shifting focus to the bigger picture now. Maresca's post-match reflection. It must have been one of significant validation for him, right? His rotation strategy was proven effective, secured that round of 16 spot with what some might perhaps unfairly call a second-string lineup.
Yeah, and this raises an important question for modern soccer, doesn't it? In a calendar where deep squads are not just a luxury but an absolute necessity, the volume and intensity of matches is just incredible. Maresca's success with rotation here provides a practical blueprint. It's not just about winning the game in front of you. It's about intelligent squad management for long-term success and, crucially, player welfare. The fact that Chelsea achieved this qualification when, as we heard, other well-known clubs from major leagues reportedly stumbled or even faced early exits in the group stage, that really underscores the wisdom of his approach.
Right.
It speaks to a growing trend where smart player rotation, truly trusting your entire squad, is going to become increasingly vital for clubs competing on multiple fronts, domestic leagues, continental competitions, and indeed this expanded Club World Cup. It really was a masterclass in strategic squad utilization.
It's fascinating, too, isn't it, the contrast in narratives coming into this game. Chelsea came into this tournament with a bit of a wobble in their Club World Cup form, including that 3-1 defeat to Flamengo in their previous match.
Yeah, that was unexpected.
Apparently, that was the first time an English team had lost in the Club World Cup since Chelsea themselves lost 0-1 to Corinthians way back in 2012. So it highlighted a surprising vulnerability, perhaps, on this particular global stage for them. Meanwhile, Tunis is riding high, having just been crowned double champions for the 2024-25 season, winning both the Tunisian Professional League 1 and the Tunisian Cup, their first double since 2010-11. So you had these really different narratives, one team seeking maybe a bit of redemption, the other riding this huge wave of domestic triumph.
Exactly. Chelsea's Club World Cup path ultimately showed resilience and recovery, didn't it?
Yeah.
Bouncing back impressively from that earlier Flamengo defeat to secure qualification when it mattered most. It demonstrates their ability to respond to setbacks on a global stage, which is, a crucial quality for any top team.
Yeah.
While Tunis's domestic success, as you say, underscores their undeniable quality and dominance within their region,
Yeah.
it indicates they arrived at this tournament with peak confidence from their local triumphs. So this deep dive really shows us how both teams arrived at this crucial juncture with very different momentum, yet both had to overcome distinct challenges to achieve their objectives. For Tunis, it was about proving their domestic supremacy could translate, even partially, to the world stage.
So Chelsea successfully navigated the group, moved on to the round of 16. They'll face Benfica on June 28th, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. What does Tunis's elimination mean for African representation in the tournament moving forward? And how are their remaining counterparts looking?
Well, Tunis's exit, it does highlight the ongoing challenge for African clubs to advance deep into this kind of global tournament, particularly when faced with the financial might and, let's face it, the established structures of the European and South American giants.
Yeah, it's a tough ask.
It is. While they fought valiantly, showcased their tactical discipline, their elimination means one less African representative in the knockout rounds. However, it's really important to note that other strong African contenders do remain in the competition, carrying the hopes of the continent. You've got Al Ahly from Egypt, a historical powerhouse in African football.
Huge club.
Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, known for their attacking flair. And Wydad AC from Morocco, who also have their own strong continental pedigree. So their continued presence underscores the growing potential and competitiveness of African clubs on this world stage, despite those significant resource disparities we talked about.
Okay, now you can just imagine the buzz on social media after a match like this, can't you? Chelsea fans probably breathing a huge sigh of relief, proud of their young guns stepping up in a big moment, especially after that Flamengo loss.
Oh, yeah.
Tweets must have been flooding in about Delap's composure, George's brilliant finish.
Definitely. Hashtag CFC trending.
Exactly. And for Tunis fans, well, undoubtedly disappointed with the result, obviously. But there must also be a profound sense of pride, surely, seeing their team compete on the world stage against a global powerhouse like Chelsea. You can almost hear the chants of Esperance, Esperance, echoing even in defeat.
Absolutely. The emotional spectrum would be vast, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
For Chelsea supporters, it's that mix of validation for Maresca's strategy, excitement for the knockout stages, knowing your team navigated a tricky group, potentially, with a rotated squad.
Relief, mainly, probably.
Probably a lot of relief, yeah. And for Tunis fans, despite the disappointment of elimination, there's immense pride in their club representing Tunisian and African soccer on such a prominent platform. It was a chance for their players to showcase their skills globally, earn recognition, prove they belong among the world's best, even if the final result didn't go their way this time. This experience, it'll be invaluable for the club and its players as they return to their domestic and continental competitions.
And there's that specific controversy that fans were likely buzzing about relating directly to Youssef Boulaily's absence. Remember, he was suspended due to that yellow card he received for simulation diving in the LAFC match. A lot of fans apparently believe his suspension was pretty much a fatal blow to Tunis's qualification hopes. What's the real impact of a disciplinary action like that on a team's chances, especially in a do-or-die scenario?
Well, what's fascinating there, isn't it, is how a single moment of perceived simulation leading to a yellow card, then a suspension, could be seen as the potential turning point for an entire team's tournament aspirations.
It's incredible.
It really underscores the extremely fine margins in elite soccer and the immense pressure players are under. Now, the rules on simulation are clear. It's considered unsporting behavior, designed to deceive the referee, gain an unfair advantage.
Right.
While the intent might always be debated in these situations, the consequence of a yellow card for such an act, particularly if it's a second booking leading to a suspension like this, well, it can be catastrophic for a team, especially when it sidelines a player of Boulaily's creative caliber right when you need him most.
Yeah.
It raises those critical questions about player discipline, its direct impact on crucial matches, where every decision, every action on the field can have significant ripple effects not just for the individual, but for the collective ambition, the strategic game plan of the whole team. It's a harsh lesson, maybe, but a real one, in the consequences of indiscipline on the biggest stage.
So yeah, the implications of one player's actions, intentional or not, can just ripple right through a whole team's journey. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, of how every single decision on the field truly matters, especially in a tournament with such high stakes and such little room for error.
Precisely. In a competition of this caliber, where every point, every goal, every player available can determine progression, the absence of a key player, especially one of Bilali's attacking quality due to a disciplinary issue, becomes a hugely magnified factor. It's a stark reminder that success at this level requires not just exceptional skill, but also unwavering discipline, composure from every single member of the squad. One moment of ill discipline, one lapse in judgment, it really can prove to be the difference between advancing and going home early.
Okay, looking ahead then. Chelsea needs to prepare thoroughly for their round of 16 match against Benfica. That's a big one. Nicholas Jackson's suspension, as we noted, will carry over, which means Liam Delap will likely get another, invaluable opportunity to prove himself as the starting striker.
Good chance for him.
Huge chance. Maresca will have to find that right balance, won't he? Between his rotation strategy, which proved so effective here, and fielding the strongest possible lineup for the knockout stages against a top-tier European opponent like Benfica, Chelsea clearly aims for a deep run in this Club World Cup, hoping to, compensate for any disappointments maybe in other competitions this season and really stamp their authority on the global stage.
Yeah, for Chelsea, it's all about maintaining momentum now, isn't it? And managing the squad effectively through what will be an incredibly demanding knockout phase. The big question becomes, can they sustain this level of performance, this tactical discipline, against consistently top-tier opponents like Benfica? Especially with those lingering suspensions, the need to balance player fatigue across multiple competitions.
It's a juggling act.
It really is. Their ability to adapt their strategy, find new attacking solutions, ensure key players are fresh when needed, that will be absolutely crucial if they want a deep run. This tournament could well define the narrative for their entire season, couldn't it? Offers a chance for significant silverware on the global stage, and it's a true measure of Maresca's long-term project at the club.
And finally, while Tunis didn't get the result they desperately wanted in this match, they clearly earned respect on the world stage, didn't they? What does their performance here, their participation, mean for African soccer as a whole, looking beyond just this specific tournament?
I think it demonstrates the growing potential and competitiveness of African clubs on the global stage. While, yes, they didn't advance from the group, Esperance Tunis showed they can compete tactically, they can compete physically with European giants, even with those significant disparities in resources.
Yeah, they weren't blown away easily.
Not at all, especially in that first half. Their participation and their solid performances, they raise the profile, raise expectations for African soccer going forward. It serves as an inspiration, hopefully, for other clubs on the continent. And it highlights the continued need for strategic investment, player development to keep bridging that gap and consistently compete at the very highest level of club soccer globally. Their journey, though ending in the group stage this time, was definitely a valuable step for African soccer's global standing, proved their quality, proved their discipline.
So as we wrap up this deep dive then, you're left with a really clear picture, I think. High-stakes, tactical gambles that, in Chelsea's case, paid off, and those razor-thin margins that decide success in elite soccer. But it also makes you wonder, doesn't it? In a tournament where squad depth is increasingly paramount and those financial disparities between clubs are so vast, does a team's market value or its social media following truly tell the whole story? Or are there always hidden strengths, crucial individual moments, disciplined tactical approaches that can defy the odds and push even the giants to their absolute limits?
That's a powerful question to consider, isn't it? This deep dive into the Chelsea versus Esperance Tunis match, it truly underscores that while resources matter, they matter immensely. Let's be clear, the human element. That individual performance under pressure, the coach's shrewd decisions to trust his full squad, even a single yellow card leading to a critical suspension. All these things can dictate outcomes on the global stage. It leaves us thinking about what truly defines a giant killing or even just a successful campaign in modern soccer. The narrative is often far more complex, far richer than just the numbers on a balance sheet or a social media follower count.
Keep that thought with you as you consider what it truly means to be a well-informed fan of the beautiful game. Until our next deep dive.